I inherited this hatchet from my wife's great uncle. So lovely, lovely little tool. You know, got a nice big flat back, so you get a mallet. And then when you go camping with your kid and their scout troop, you can occupy two children for God knows, you know, about an hour just sitting there chopping. So that's a delight. As I was learning leather work, I thought, oh gosh, I should make a little cover for the hatchet. I'd seen a bunch of people make things like this before. And okay, I figured out how to set the welt and did the stitching. And I was like pretty happy with how it came out. Okay, should have rounded the corner, should have done a slightly different finish. And when I first made it, I didn't have this stitch in yet. I'd seen all these versions for these Scandinavian axes that have big sweeps down here. And a little tuck up here is enough to kind of keep it set. This is a very, very narrow, it's just, narrow is the wrong word. This doesn't flare as much. So I put it in and I set the snap and it would just come off. And then I tried this, like, oh, well, maybe if I put that there. And now those stitches don't do anything, and honestly, the axe is going to slowly chop them off. You can see them starting to wear in. It's too dark. You see that? So I need to make a new one. And for this style axe, I've been thinking and thinking, what is the right way to do it? And the core question is, well, what is it that fits all the way around the blade? Because this bit's sharp and this bit's sharp, and it's not that much broader than the base up here. So it needs to fit around there. It can't taper back and hold it. I could try this style and a tighter fit. Right? If you look at this with the tolerances, I probably could have just gone a little further up there, and that might have been enough. But I don't love that. For one, it's still not as secure. You're kind of hoping that that joint is tight enough, and as the leather slowly stretches and wears, I don't know that that's actually going to work. So then I thought, like, well, maybe it comes down on top, and then, well, how do you protect this from not breaking out? And if it comes down on top, well, you'll need something that fits around there. And the idea I've sort of settled on is there's sort of two options, and I think there's one I prefer best. One is something like this, where the strap wraps around here, and then you'll still have some possibility of turn or pivot off the top. But if you make this top piece big enough, it won't come off, right? Because right now you can see it just flexes off the bottom there, and you worry if it's strapped here, it could still flex off the top somehow. But I think the right solution here is something that totally covers it. So there'll be one big piece that fits over like this, and then a piece here that will go over the back and have a bit of a cutout so it can fit around the butt of the hatchet. I might want to round off these corners if they're going to be sticking out, but I don't even know. So you have the big piece there, then we have an even bigger piece, or this big piece, sorry, excuse me, flaps around, and there's a smaller piece right here. So it'll look something like this, and it can cover up like that. And then we'll have, you know, a pair of face snaps here. All right, let me get some paper. Let's pattern this out. Now, a thing that sort of surprised me when I first started leather work is the idea that you're going to pattern even for one-off things, because patterns are how you transfer the idea carefully. The goal is the outcome. The outcome of this was not good enough. So I need a different outcome. I need a better one. And the way I'm going to get there is by doing a paper pattern, and that's going to tell me exactly what size I need to cut and so on. But I can start here. It's a little sticky on the back, so I was using this to cut out a different pattern. All right, let's... And then to about, I'm just going to fold over, let's say about here. Okay, so this, something like this, will be the top piece, and there'll be two snaps kind of sticking up here, and then the bottom piece will be able to go all the way around. So to do that, is that going to be enough to wrap? No, it's got to be longer. Yeah, something like that. You'll notice I'm not measuring, I'm just trying to get the sense of it, because like the paper's cheap, we'll do it this way and then we'll slowly refine our way into something that looks like leather. Okay, cool. So we want something like this, and then this will come around, and then our snaps will be there. And I'll need to make a little hole here so that it can pull all the way around. Now the nature of this hole is a little funny because as soon as you make the hole, it's going to pull through. Now you might wonder, why do the hole? It's folding over really nicely right now, but like if I don't make the hole, this I think is pretty awkward because this is going to need to get fully stitched down, right, to fully protect this from coming out. This needs to be fully stitched down and fully welted. And if this goes around, then I feel like there's not as much keeping it in place. I think if it goes all the way through, it'll be a little bit more secure because it'll be holding on around this whole back of the hatchet. So, something like that. We're gonna look something like this. And we'll pull it back. I don't think we want to fully cover that other piece. I mean, now that I do this, I do start to wonder, like, we could do something, like a big single piece, but I like the idea of this because now we'll have top grain on both sides, right? This will be grain, then we'll have a welt here, and then this will be more grain on top because that'll be the facing grain, so flush onto there. So I think that'll look really nice. The final pattern, I'm going to figure out the tolerance exactly. This tells me what kind of shape do I want. And I know that, okay, these are hard corners. I don't want hard corners there. But it gives me sort of the rough size of it. This is actually, I think, about the tolerance that I want to have the welt and everything. And the trickiest thing that I think is going to happen here is, well, all right, where exactly do the snaps go? And then what's the level of stretch that I get so that it fits over perfectly? So my feeling is I'm going to cut this piece long and I'll figure out the right hole and I can get all this stitched up and I can set the snaps here. And then I can stretch it and be like, okay, where's the spot that's like a pull but comfortable pull, leave a bit of tab, and then that'll tell me what I need to do, and I can just reuse this same pattern, like echo that line to get the curve that I'll do on that piece. So I'm going to strategically not know exactly what that's going to be because I think trying to guess it in advance and then cutting means, well, if I cut it too short, I'm kind of hosed. And I don't think you can really know until you've stitched it. And stitching the welt, especially here, if this is going to go through, you know, this I made out of, this is 6-ounce scrap that I had. And I think it's actually a pretty nice weight for the light hatchet. But the I'll probably use a piece of 910 for that welt, which means it's going to be real thick, like to the point that I think I'm going to have to single prong punch the whole way, maybe even punch the pieces separately. Okay, so what is left on the to-do list? Well, I have to select the pieces of leather. I have to pattern this out more finely to make sure that I have exactly the shape that I want. I might even have the old pattern piece I used to make this, but I might have thrown it out thinking it was a one-shot. Make sure I echo that same round down here, give it a nice corner. These are too sharp here. Plot it out, and then cut a long strip here, figuring out where I want that edge, and then cutting really the smallest width I can here, because it's going to sort of register this into the sheath. And then just stitch it up, finish edges. Not too bad. So I think that'll work out really nicely. All right, I will check back in when I have that pattern drawn, and then maybe head over to cut.